Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. I'm here with you today to begin our Christmas week discussion of the Christmas story. We've looked at a few things prior to now, and now I want to turn to the second chapter of Luke and beginning with the first verse. And here's what we see. At that time, the Roman Emperor Augustus decreed that a census should be taken throughout the Roman Empire. This was the first census taken when Quirinius was governor of Syria. All returned to their ancestral towns to register for this census. And because Joseph was a descendant of King David, he had to go to Bethlehem in Judea, David's ancient home. He traveled there from the village of Nazareth in Galilee. He took with him Mary, to whom he was engaged and who was now expecting a child. I don't know what you think about this census to be taken. Um, Probably most of us never really think about it. I mean, here in this country, every 10 years they're supposed to count everybody, or at least count as many as they can. There are all kinds of politics about that counting system. And did you know there were politics involved here too? It says here, at the time, the Roman Emperor Augustus decided to take a census. Now, unlike here in the United States, when a census is required by law every 10 years, in ancient Rome, a census was taken whenever the emperor wanted to. And he took it for a number of reasons. One, find out how many people were there of soldiering age so he could get them into his army. Two, to find out how many total subjects were in the area, the region that he was trying to control. But thirdly, and most importantly, they conducted a census just to demonstrate their power. Now, how do I say that? Well, Rome was a control place. It was, in many ways, the equivalent of the modern dictatorships that we know in our most recent history. Now, they did have a Senate, and depending on who was emperor and what year was what, the Senate had more or less power. But Rome itself was a very, how should we say this, uncompromising conqueror. It wanted its conquered places to do what it wanted them to do when it wanted them to do it. And one of the ways to demonstrate for Rome to say, I'm in charge and you're not, is to declare a census. Because for a census, everybody has to go back to their hometown to register. Now imagine the chaos in this country if that's what our census required. I mean, it's bad enough as it is. I mean, there's 340 million people in the United States, more or less. It's really hard to count all those folks. In fact, if you think whatever you do, you're going to get an absolute accurate count, you're just naive. It's not going to happen. It'd take too long, even if we could do that. And people move around too much, you lose track of them. Well, the simpler thing would say, go back to where you're from. How far would you have to go if you had to go back? Well, some of you would be a long trip. And it was a long trip for Joseph and Mary. In fact, if you check it out with today's technology, you'll find that just walking, the trip from Nazareth to Bethlehem was about a 31-hour walk. Now, the average person can walk oh, 3, 4 hours, miles per hour. And we're talking 31 hours. And to make matters worse, two problems. One, Mary's pregnant. Of course, I can't tell you what that's like firsthand, but I can tell you from my limited experience that women in their last phase of being pregnant are not the happiest person in the world or the most comfortable one. So Joseph did what he knew to do. He got his donkey out and put Mary on the donkey. Now, donkeys are different than horses. They're built differently. More importantly, for riding purposes, their backbone is different. A horse kind of has a smooth with skin backbone, but a donkey has a backbone that sticks up about an inch, and it's about an inch and a half wide above the skin. Now, don't ask me why. I have no clue. But that's how it is. And the reason I know that is because I raised donkeys one time. And riding a donkey is not very comfortable. And to ride a donkey for 31 hours when you're near term of pregnancy, man, think how difficult that was for Mary and for Joseph. But they had no choice because Rome said so. And they did what Rome said. Now, why is this so important? Well, the reason why is all of the prophecies about Jesus, and the last one was written, his birth, well, his life and birth was written about 700 years before he was born. All of the prophecies said that he comes from the city of David, Bethlehem, in Judea. If Jesus doesn't get there to be born, he cannot fulfill those prophecies. And who in their right mind would make a trip like that at this point in time? Nobody. But God was using the Romans, these awful conquerors, to fulfill his purposes. And God today still directs our paths in ways we didn't imagine, in ways we don't like, to get us to the place where he knows we need to be. And that's true for Mary and Joseph, and it's true for me, and it's true for you. Wherever you are in life, God has not abandoned you. However harsh and difficult your situation might be, God hasn't disappeared. The story of this part of Christmas is that even in the midst of horrible traffic of travel, God was fulfilling his purpose. What do you think about that this week as we get ready for Christmas? See what God's doing in your life. Thanks for listening. If you have a prayer concern or a need, let us know. We'll do everything we can as fast as we can to help meet those needs. Take care. I'll talk to you tomorrow.